What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mind Something. If you're new here, my name is Jake, and today we have an action-packed episode, so strap in. First, we got Alephium. It's not going to be worth GPU mining for long. Also, shots fired. The European central banks are scared of Bitcoin, and it shows. Also, did I just find a Windows version of Vast.ai? And NVIDIA is lowering prices on some of their 40 series, and your KS0 Kaspa miner? It's about to be worthless. Or is it? Thanks to a new Kaspa fork. Let's get into it, but before we do me a favor, hit that like button, and if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so by the end of the video. So first up, Alephium's price is pumping and so is the hash rate, and I think that has a little bit to do with the hackathon that just recently went down this week. So shortly after the hackathon started, Alephium posted this on Twitter. They have a new hackathon partner, and they announced Bitmain is giving a total prize away of $70,000. Now, there's a lot of speculation that this insinuates that Bitmain is in the process of making an ASIC specifically for Alephium, which would not surprise any of us at this point. But I think what we're seeing going on with the hash rate is due to FPGA miners moving all of their hash rate over to Alephium. If we take a look at the difficulty chart here, you can see that since roughly about November 18th, it's been on a pretty significant rise, but starting at about January 3rd, it really started to take off. And then just a few days ago, after the hackathon started, you can see a significant rise all the way up. The current hash rate is currently sitting at 471 terahash, which is a far cry from where it was back in November of last year. Now, for the past several months, Alephium was typically at the top of the profitability calculators on hashrate.no, but if we pull up a 4090, you can see that you have to scroll down a pretty good ways before you get to Alephium. Even Nexa is sitting above it, and notice that Ironfish is getting close to the top here. In fact, when it comes to coins with a lot of volume, I would say Ironfish and Pyron and Nexelia are going to be the top three. The Pepe Pow is not a high volume coin, so I don't know if I would recommend mining that. So based on what we're seeing here, the difficulty charts and the hash rate, it looks like it's not going to take very long before Alephium is not worth it to mine with your GPU. However, I do want to caution you and say that back in January of 2023, between January and March of 2023, I was going back and forth with mining Kaspa on my GPUs, and one of the reasons that I did that was because I was simply looking at profitability calculators. However, I probably would have been better off if I had stayed on Kaspa all the way until the beginning of April, when we really started to see the hash rate take off. And at that point, I think we had confirmation that there were, in fact, ASICs on the network. So, if price goes up with the hash rate as we expect, it may be worth it to keep your GPUs on Alephium for a while, or perhaps you want to mine what is most profitable and trade for Alephium, but I'll leave that decision up to you. One thing that caught my attention was the hash rate distribution changing before and after the hackathon. And I took a screenshot of the hash rate distribution before the hackathon, and you can see Hero Miners was over 50% at 54%, and the unknown hash rate was sitting at 29.2%. However, after the hackathon, as you can see here, the unknown hash rate has increased to 49.7, and Hero Miners has dropped down to 38.8. Now, what that tells me is we probably have a significant amount of FPGAs that are solo mining this, or perhaps on a pool that's not reporting yet. So the time for GPU mining Alephium looks like it is coming to a close, so hopefully you've got your bags filled. Moving on, next I wanted to talk about the European Central Bank and their message to people on Twitter. They say Bitcoin has failed to become a global decentralized digital currency, instead falling victim to fraud and manipulation. The recent approval of an ETF doesn't change the fact that Bitcoin is costly, slow, and inconvenient, argues the ECB blog. Now, I thought it was hilarious that they got community noted on this particular tweet, and you can see that readers added context that they thought people might want to know, saying Chainalysis found that only 0.34% of the transaction volume with cryptocurrencies in 2023 was attributed to criminal activity. Bitcoin's share of this is significantly lower, with 25%. Illicit transactions with euros accounted for 1% of the EU's GDP, or 110 billion in 2010, and of course since then it's increased even more. Now, they did change this community notes. This was a little bit different previously. They had a bunch of other links to click on and several other statements talking about how it was decentralized, but it looks like those community notes have changed. And if you go down and read some of the comments here, they are absolutely hilarious. The ECB is taking quite a beating in the comments, which I love to see. But what this is really telling us is simply that central banks across the world are getting very, very scared. They can see the writing on the wall, and it's only a matter of time before their world is turned upside down and people truly see Bitcoin and cryptocurrency for what it is. Now, next up, I wanted to share something with you that was posted in my Discord, and that is salad.com. This is a cloud-based AI or ML inference at scale. It's very similar to Vast.ai, but the big difference from what I can tell right now is it's a Windows-based version of this. Let me read you something that I saw in their deployment guide, which states, Salad leverages hardware-native virtualization and industry-standard container runtimes to standardize the compute environment across a distributed network of heterogeneous hardware. Once a container image has been deployed, SCE instances replicas on a predetermined number of available physical devices as stateless processes with virtual Linux subsystems. All SCE container instances deploy to consumer-owned hardware running modern Windows NT operating systems, which would be Windows 10 or later. This allows the Salad desktop client to leverage Microsoft Hyper-V virtualization features, manage and monitor workloads, and boot true Linux kernels from the Windows subsystem. Now, I do want to caution you before you get into this that you want to make sure that you take all precautions if you're going to install something like this on a computer that has your personal information, which I don't recommend. But I'm going to do the deep dive into this, and we're going to cover this in detail, and perhaps this is something worth looking into, especially for those of you out there who struggle with Linux. Now, based on what I'm hearing from people in Discord, they're making roughly $8 a day on a 3090, which is pretty substantial, but obviously that could be a little bit bloated depending on opinions and time frames and such. So once I have all the information, we'll do a much better full-length video on this particular subject. Next up, we got an article from Video Cards here stating that RTX 4070 and 4060 Ti Founders Editions mark first price cuts in China. NVIDIA has lowered the price of its Founders Edition models exclusively available through certain stores in China. Gamers in China can now enjoy a welcome adjustment in the pricing of NVIDIA's Founders Edition series. The company has decided to lower the prices for two of their mid-range models, namely the RTX 4070 and the 4060 Ti. This reduction comes in the form of a 200 RMB coupon, equivalent to approximately $27. While this price drop may not be substantial, it's still important, as Founders Edition cards rarely see cuts before their custom counterparts. The RTX 4070 had previously undergone an official price adjustment upon the introduction of the RTX 4070 Super in January. In line with the global market trend, custom models have already started experiencing price reductions below the MSRP. Some of the most affordable RTX 4070 models are now available at a price of 350 RMB below MSRP, translating to about $50. So here you can see the pricing that's listed in RMB. And it says, this competitive landscape is evolving with the RTX 4070 and the 4060 Ti models facing increased competition from the Radeon RX 6750 GRE models and recent releases featuring Navi 32 and 31 GPU, which would be the 7800 XT, the 7700 XT, and the 7900 GRE. However, it's worth noting that pricing for the top models like the RTX 4090D or the 4080 series remain unchanged. Now, if we switch over to PC Parts Picker, they have a nice graph illustrating the trends on GPU pricing. So we're going to go through a few of these real quickly just to see how things are going. So obviously the Arc A380 has gone down. The A750 is also trending down after a little bit of a jump sometime in January. Then we have the A770. Looks like its price is also trending down a little bit. Then we have the RTX 3050, which price seems to be going up just a little bit since June of 2023. Then you've got the 3060 12 gig, which price has consistently gone down. You've got the 3060 Ti, which, surprising to me, the price has continued to increase since roughly about December of 2023. Now, I've made a video recently that illustrates what the best GPU for mining is based on the price that you're paying for it, and the 3060 Ti continues to be a top performer if you can pick it up for about $250. The RTX 3070, however, looks to be holding its price, and this is based on 18 months worth of data, but I don't think we're getting a lot of unopened retail versions of this card, so any information that they have is probably going to be based off a very, very small number of sales. Then we've got the 3070 LHR, which you can see has increased since roughly December of 2023. We've got the 3070 Ti, which surprisingly has actually gone down a little bit. It had a little bit of an increase from the beginning of January, but it looks like it's starting to come down again. 3080 10 gig, no longer available. 3080 10 gig LHR, also no longer available. 3080 12 gig LHR, also no longer available. Then we've got the 3080 Ti, also no longer available. 3090 pricing here since December is based on very few models that were available. Then we've got the 3090 Ti sales. Doesn't look like we have any data there. Now here's where we get to the 40 series cards. So the 4070 pricing, you can see, took a pretty significant little dip right after the launch of the 4070 Super, but it came right back up to where it was, and it looks like that trend is going to continue. Next up, we've got the RTX 4070 Super, and as you can see, it launched at a pretty significantly higher price than the 4070, of course. It came back down just a few days later, but it is trending up, so something to be aware of. Then we've got the 4070 Ti, and you can tell that pricing is going down, and that is a very efficient card, obviously, at mining core algorithms. The 4070 Ti Super pricing looks like it has increased compared to what it launched at. The next up, we've got the RTX 4080. Price seems to be going down after the beginning of January. The RTX 4080 Super, which just launched, obviously retail pricing was quite a bit higher than it currently is, but if I were to guess, I would say the pricing on this is going to continue to slowly trend up. And then lastly, we've got the RTX 4090, which, as you can see, since launch has continuously increased. And we'll briefly glance at some of the Radeon cards. The 6500 pricing looks like it has been increasing since roughly March of last year. Then we've got the 6600 pricing, which has actually gone down considerably since its launch. And it did have a little price spike there in January, but it started to go back down. And this is one of my favorite cards to pick up if I can pick it up for under $130, $140. The 6600 XT pricing looks like it is trending up. The 6700 XT is definitely trending up. 6800 looks to be trending down. 6800 XT looks to be trending up. 6900 XT pricing data is going to be very limited, but based on what we can see here, it is higher than it was back in May of 2023. The 7700 XT pricing does appear to be going up since roughly the beginning of February. The 7800 XT pricing looks to be kind of trending sideways. Both of these had a little bit of a dip whenever the RTX 4070 Super launched. 7900 XT does seem to be going down. 7900 XTX does seem to be going down just slightly. So all in all, on average, I would say that GPU pricing does appear to be creeping up just a little bit in certain instances for some of the newer models. Some of the older models are going down, but obviously this could drastically change depending on how things go with crypto mining. And last up for today, I wanted to talk about those KSOs and the KSO Pros. It appears as though hash rate is going to continuously go up for Kaspa, making those particular miners less and less profitable every day. And I have some bad news for you. Coming out of Coastal Crypto, they say Bitmain is working on the next Kaspa machine versus its flagship units. Stop buying generic Kaspa machines, buy brand name. Not financial advice. They are telling us there is a 21 terahash model coming from Bitmain at 3,500 watts. Now, if we compare that to the best of the best out there right now, then you're looking at the IB Link BMKS Max, which is going to get you roughly 10.5 terahash at 3,400 watts. So we're talking about double the efficiency and double the hash rate potentially coming out of Bitmain for the Kaspa KS5. But that is yet to be revealed. However, if that does in fact come to fruition, that is going to take the profitability of your KS0 and your KS0 Pro down to next to nothing. And personally, I would rather have a few GPUs over that particular Kaspa miner. However, a new player has entered the game for Kaspa ASICs, and that is a new coin called Cedra, or Cedra. Not sure how you pronounce it, but right now, the KS0 Pro is almost twice as profitable on this particular coin. Now, that is subject to change based on the price and the difficulty, of course. But if we take a look at what Cedra is doing right now, it is currently up 325% in the last 24 hours, and it could continue to get better. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with this particular coin, but if we take a look at what makes it special, nothing really jumps out at me other than the fact that it is a Kaspa fork that is mineable on a Kaspa ASIC. According to the website, at the heart of this evolution is a groundbreaking concept of custom tokenized assets, or CTAs, a fresh alternative to NFTs. These digital assets unique to Sedra blockchain redefine ownership, customization, and value creation. Each CTA is a statement to the boundless possibilities within Sedra ecosystem, where innovation meets individual expression. Now, as far as the tokenomics of this particular coin, it does have 1 second block time, just like Kaspa, and we're looking at a total supply of 28.7 billion. However, there was a 20% pre-mine, a strategic blend offering 10% early miner rewards, 4% early supporters and enthusiasts, and 6% liquidity pools and exchanges. And then we show the ecosystem gets 30%, marketing gets 20%, development and incentives 10%, treasury 10%, staking and farming operation 10%. So I don't know. This doesn't look terrific to me, but I guess time will tell if it's worth its salt. Personally, if I was going to fork Kaspa, I would wait until most of the things on their checklist are taken care of, such as the Rust implementation, 10 blocks per second, and so on. But hey, it's a cash grab. It also opens up profitability for Kaspa because there is something else to mine with those ASICs. So we will see what happens. Now, based on what we're seeing as far as hash rate is concerned, it does look like about the time that that particular coin was available to mine, approximately February 7th, the difficulty on Kaspa has gone down. But I want to know from you guys down in the comments below, what do you think of this coin? What do you think of the drop in hash rate on Kaspa? What are you personally mining with your Kaspa ASICs? And do you suspect that there will be any more additional Kaspa forks that potentially take hash rate and difficulty down on Kaspa? So that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor before you go. Please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one.